This video is sponsored by Kershaw, Next Level Pocket Knives. Use discount code 20archery23 for 20% off at kershawknives.com. No bow company has evolved in recent years quite like Prime Archery, and that is on full display with the new Prime REVEX 4 I've got in my hands here for testing for this long-term review. Before we get into what's new, let's take a look at the specs. This bow has an axle-to-axle length of 34 inches, a brace height of 6 inches, and an IBO rated speed of 340 feet per second. Now, if a 34-inch bow is not up your alley, Prime also has 32-inch and 36-inch versions of the same bow. They'll have slightly different speeds and slightly different brace heights, but you get a more compact and a longer option if you're looking for those things. Now, it's the cams where Prime has really made the most changes over the years. We've seen their classic side-by-side cams, which kind of disappeared last year. We've seen different draw length adjustability setups, either with draw length mods or rotating mods or all that. And we've seen them go from limb stops to cable stops and everything in between. They even went from a solid limb to a split limb bow. So they've done a lot in the last, 4 years or so now. And that hasn't changed this year with the new core cam system. So it still has the same setup, the inline setup they call it. So where the cables and the string kind of line up as you draw the bow back so they stay steadier, which is designed to improve accuracy. Whether that's better or not than the traditional cam setup, I have no idea, but at least that's the marketing speak. So now they've gone away with a rotating draw length mod. So this is just draw length specific mods. And that is honestly got some good and bad to it. On the positive side, having that gives you more efficiency at every draw length. The bow will usually have a better draw, and you'll have maybe a little bit more speed at every draw length throughout the whole range. And so that's definitely a bonus. As on the negative side, you have to go to your local dealer and get a new bond if you want to change your draw length. Traditionally for me, I've liked to tinker with my bows, and that does include making draw length adjustments. And so that is a bit of a bother, to be honest with you, but the more I am shooting this bow, the more I may be starting to see the light. This bow has been an absolute peach to shoot, and it all starts with the draw cycle. In my draw cycle comparison video from a couple weeks back, I had the Prime just behind the Mathews in second place, but honestly this could have been first. This bow is so buttery smooth to draw, and it just, I don't know, it's my favorite Prime bow to date as far as the draw cycle goes. It has, maybe the tiniest little bit of a bump into the valley, but I am absolutely splitting hairs here. There is very little to talk about as far as a non-linear draw cycle. It feels fantastic to draw. And so I couldn't be happier about that. And that also translates to how well it shoots. This is a 34-inch bow, and I'm a taller guy. I'm 6'2", and I got a 30-inch draw length. And so I do tend to like a slightly larger bow like this. That 32 to 34 inches is a really good number for me for hunting bows. And this bow just holds on target like a champ. I absolutely love how it feels. First, it's got cable stops instead of limb stops, which last year's inline bows had. So I much prefer cable stops. I like a little bit of give into the wall. It's not a ton. It's not mushy by any stretch. I just think a little bit of give helps me kind of pull through the shot a little bit better, and then maybe hold on target a little bit more, confidently than I would with a limb stop bow. But that's just me. Your mileage is going to vary on that. I just prefer to have those cable stop options. And the bow just is a tack driver. This thing flat out shoots. To be honest with you, if I had to choose one bow to kind of do everything for me this year, like if I wanted a bow for hunting and a bow for 3D, this would really be it. I wouldn't normally like taking a 70-pound bow out on a 3D course. I just don't like, I don't tend to feel as comfortable with those bows, but this is so easy to draw. It's got plenty of let off. I think 85% is on these particular mods. And so I could shoot that all day long, and that would be great on 3D course because it's such a nail driver. And if you want to switch up to the 36-inch version, I'm sure that would feel just as good, if not better. Or if you want to go down to the 32-inch version and just use this for hunting, I think that's another great option for you. Another point in Prime's favor is the nano grip. I typically like to shoot a bow off the riser. That's kind of my favorite feel of a grip, like a narrowish, flat riser grip position. And this one, Primes have always had that in the past. This last couple of years, they've had this nano grip technology, and that's got some NASA kind of engineered aerogel underneath it. And basically that lets you not have a super cold bow in those chilly fall mornings. So that aerogel kind of warms up as you hold it, and so the bow just doesn't get cold in your hand. I've shot this thing in very cold temperatures, and not this particular prime, but prior year primes, the inline 3 to name one from last year, and it just, you know, once if you're holding the grip, it feels great. Almost warm even as you hold it. Like it's abnormally warm, it feels great, and it's also, you know, still fairly flat and a comfortable grip to hold. A lot of kind of like a plastic over grips like this, I don't like how they feel. This one feels great in the hand. In recent years, I've found some of the prime bows to have a bit more vibration after the shot than I would like. That happened maybe the last 2 years with the prime bows. That may have just been, you know, how I've had them set up or tuned. This year, really a lot of that is gone. You know, it's not quite at the same level as, you know, like the Phase 4 from Mathews I've been shooting this year. But it is very, very good. I have no complaints about this bow whatsoever with how it feels after the shot with noise and vibration. So Prime has kind of figured out a formula that works for them this year, and I'm very glad to have it. And so it's another tick towards the Prime's favor for this year. To test for speed, I set up the Prime with 70 pounds of draw weight and 30 1/8 inches of draw length. And I shot a 350 grain arrow through the chronograph with an average speed of 328 feet per second. And I shot a heavier 499 grain arrow through the chronograph with an average speed of 279 feet per second. So again, that's not the fastest I've shot of any bows this year, but it's pretty good. It's really only, 12 feet a second under their advertised speed, which is, you know, about average more or less for the bows I get to test. You know, you'd like them to be a little closer to the number, but maybe my chrono runs a little bit slow. But overall, I was very happy with the speed numbers, especially for someone with my draw length. I'm real happy with those numbers. I could shoot, you know, a 475 grain arrow in around 280 feet a second or so. That's perfect for me. I like the way broadheads fly at that speed. When it comes to fit and finish, I don't think prime bows take a backseat to anybody. They have had some of the best looking bows in the industry, in my opinion, for the last, 3-4 years, especially when they went to that split limb design. I really liked how the prime bow started looking then, and this is no exception. I normally do prefer a solid color, kind of an earth tone or a black bow, but this Ridge Rock Scar looks great on here. It's not, you know, camo is not my preference, but I think this one looks really good. There's no flaws in it whatsoever. The only issue I'm seeing on this bow after a few months of testing is a bit of a nick on the shelf. I don't know if it came like that through shipping or if I did that myself somehow, you know, by moving bows around, maybe they're banging into each other. I'm not sure. It's a very small little nick. I'm not super bothered by it. And if it was caused by me, then hard to blame anybody else anyway. But yeah, the Prime makes great looking risers and great looking limbs. And I like that they color match them with the camo on the riser and the limbs together. It's a great look. Price is maybe a small area of concern for the REVEX 4. This one has an MSRP of about $1,300, which is on the high end when you consider kind of like flagship level aluminum hunting bows. You know, carbon is going to cost you a little bit more, but $1,300 is definitely a steep price to pay. But realistically, you know, I've got 4 test bows in this year. They're all within $100 of each other, so that's pretty close to the industry standard when you think about it. And Prime does give you a little bit of, you know, added value when you consider their replacement strings. You get free replacement strings every 2 years as long as you still own the bow. So you know, an extra set of strings is going to save you what $70 to $100 depending on who you're going to get them from anyway. So that's a pretty good value, all things considered. The Prime Synergy Hybrid has probably been my favorite Prime ever, and you know, since it first came out. And there was the bow that I first saw, that little S curve on the riser, and I just loved how that thing shot. But I think that changed this year. The REVEX 4 is my favorite prime bow to draw. It is an absolutely deadly shooter. It just, I don't know, whatever formula they have just fits for me this year. And so I think it has kind of surpassed any other prime I've shot in the past. If that seems like something that would be interesting to you, head to your local prime dealer and take one for a spin.